What's up, everybody? You're listening to another episode of the SignatureCAST, where we talk bodybuilding, business, and everything in between. In the studio today, I am joined by a star-studded cast of IFBB professionals. It's about to be just absolutely amazing. To my left, resident IFBB pro, Jess Falborn in the house, as always. To my right, Justin Jacoby, IFBB 212 Pro, and the coach of everyone who is sitting here today, Amandine, also known as Kolly, and last but not least, Jordan Wise, IFBB Pro, making his pro debut this weekend at the New York Pro. First of all, thank you guys so much for coming on today. How's everybody feeling?
Well, thank you for having us. I feel great. I can't speak for the other two. They're both dieting, so I'm sure they're both very tired.
I feel great. It's good to be here, and I'm super excited for this weekend.
I'm good.
Kolly's good. Jess, how you feeling?
Oh, I'm good, like always. I'm in off season. I get to eat right now.
Yeah, Jess is good because she gets to eat. Well, first off, like I said, thank you guys so much for coming in today. You know, I'm going to knock this one out the way. What do you guys think of Signature Fitness and, you know, the style of the gym and all that type of stuff? I've hoped we've taken good care of you guys since you've been here. And, yeah, give me a couple thoughts. How can we improve?
You go first. Tell me what you saw.
I've never seen a gym like this before, so it's awesome to be here, and yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I've been to Switzerland where Amandine trains, so they have they're very just limited. So when she trains at gyms like Revive, where I live, or Destination Dallas when we were in Texas, or places like Signature Fitness, I can just tell, like, when she walks through the room, like, her face just really, like, lights up. Like, she's like a kid on Christmas morning. So that was exactly what she said on her Instagram when we first got here. So this is my like second trip up to Signature, so I'm a big fan. But it's changed a lot since 2020 when I was last here. But I absolutely love this gym.
Yeah, no, we definitely appreciate it. You know, it's something we're definitely striving to. You know, obviously we know that Bev's is, you know, the mecca. You know, the East Coast mecca of bodybuilding. But I think we're slowly becoming this, you know, kind of a destination facility, especially in the Northeast. And we're very proud of that. So we do thank you guys very much for coming. But let's get down to brass tacks. New York Pro this weekend. How are you feeling as a coach? You know, now, Kolly, I know you were planning on doing the show, right? But now you step back.
Yep.
I'm assuming we have another show on the horizon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does the public know of this yet? No? Okay, so we won't say. We won't say, but she's coming. And I'm telling you, I seen the conditioning. It's nutty. So we'll keep that. But, Jordan, it's your pro debut, New York Pro. You got the man behind you. You got the team sitting around you. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling very confident in the fact that I am bringing my best package. We made a lot of improvements from the last time I was on stage, and I can't be any more happy with the improvements that we've made and the progress we've made. And Justin's been great. You know, I can't thank him enough for taking me on and coaching me to get my pro card and then now do my pro debut. So it's been fun.
And I know we were talking a little bit earlier, so we put on a lot of quality muscle this past off season, right? Was there anything different in terms of training, the diet, game plan? What took him from, correct me if I'm wrong, nationals, right? From nationals to here?
Jordan and I lived in Georgia at the time that he asked me to help him. So we just jumped right into prep for nationals. So we had never done any type of growth phase, nothing. We just jumped right into it. And this was our first improvement season together. And really it was just being able to, when I moved to Florida, he shortly after moved to Florida as well. So he's only a couple hours away. So he's come down to Revive several times, trained. That's one of the biggest things that I like to do with my athletes is, like, come down to me when you're full of energy, full of life, and I can teach you how to do things right. And we've done that really, really well. There's no lack of effort. It's just applying the effort the right way. So when we started to just break it down, we fixed a lot of things. He has responded really well to the criticism, which I'm tough. Like, I'm very tough. Like, I am not a player's coach, if you will. The best thing that I've ever learned from Matt Jansen is a quote from Nick Saban, and it's the best thing you can do for a 5-star athlete is to coach them hard, because they're going to be a 5-star athlete no matter what school they go to. And a 5-star athlete, like either of these two, It'll be a 5-star worth what any
You were left out of that, Jess, if you didn't see.
And Jess, stop. She's just not sitting right next to me. And Jess and I's story is very different, which I'll get into.
Oh, we're going to talk about that because I have a background perspective of this story. It's good things. Good things.
I will gladly get into it. So, but and I've had more time to work with these two again than I have with Jess as well. So basically what I'm getting at is this was our first time really being able to work with Jordan to help him just actually improve as a bodybuilder. And the peak this time for New York Pro is going to be a lot better than Nationals. And the reason why is simple. I'm not competing this weekend. I competed at the same Nationals that Jordan competed at. We went pro together. That was like an amazing experience, one that not many people will ever be able to say that they've experienced. This is different. Obviously, I was very focused on getting my pro card as well. I was still very focused on helping him get his pro card, but there were probably some areas that I just overlooked. Again, I'm very depleted. I'm, prep brains, all that stuff. This time I'm sleeping in his bedroom. We're in the same room. I'm looking at him a couple times every day. And now tomorrow, and then tomorrow will be after every meal. And like honestly, right now we're absolutely crushing it. Like this peak has gone super flawlessly. His weight is just continuously coming down as the peak week goes on because he's just getting drier and drier and drier every day. He's waking up almost as if we are using diuretics and we're not. So it's just like everything's going extremely well. Same thing that happened to Kolly last week. Her weight just continued to come down. She just kept getting drier and drier and drier. And it's just very basic stuff. It's controlling variables, controlling stress, cortisol, inflammation, mineral balance, all of the easy stuff that people oftentimes overlook for some of the bigger stuff. So I don't believe in stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. So that's why I think that what we're doing right now is working. And
I don't mean to cut you off,
okay.
But definitely, after having spoken with Jess and just seeing kind of what happened, last weekend, Kolly made some pretty big waves in the women's physique division. I mean, how do you feel after it was third place?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about that placing?
I'm so happy because it was my 4th show ever. My second show as a woman's physique, and I was very stressed to go on a big stage like this because I didn't know how I looked next to some big athletes. And I'm so happy about the results, and I can wait for the next one too.
No, I definitely think, Miss Olympia that was there was a little worried. I'm not going to lie. From my perspective, at least, I think you were definitely 100% holding your own and made a massive statement. So congratulations on that. I think we're going to see you on that Olympia stage, I'm sure. Very soon. Very soon. I'm assuming that's the plan.
100%. That was been the goal this whole year is to get Amandine to the Olympia. Yeah. And I think that we can do that. So 100%. I very, very much am confident that we can do that. And we got what we wanted out of last weekend. That's what we talked about. We wanted to stand next to Miss Olympia, and we did. We stood right next to her. That was the first person. They moved her right next to her, and I've got the video evidence to prove it. And we held our own in every shot, every single shot. There was not one shot where you're like, okay, we really got beat on that one. Nope. We held our own in every single pose. And also one of the big things with Amandine was we wanted to be able to stand next to Natalia and get the comparison because now we have the verifiable proof that we are women's physique. That's the division she belongs in.
Well, not just that. It's like, okay, now we know where to add a little bit of clay. Now we know where to make the improvements over the next 6 months and really come in and just absolutely dominate. So, hey, stick to it. Keep training.
I promise.
Because we'll be rooting for you. But, now I'm going to address the person to my left and the person to my right because I've heard a lot of stories. So let's just...
my God.
First, let me just say. So thank you because Jess says nothing but good things about you.
I hope so.
And seeing from the outer perspective of not just an athlete, but especially a female athlete, I think a lot of coaches out there don't know how to treat them. But the most impressive thing from someone who doesn't even compete in bodybuilding but is a professional athlete is seeing how much importance you put on diet, nutrition, her gut health, getting everything like healthy, and being able to move forward. It's been really cool for me because I have known many bodybuilding, we'll call them coaches, right? Parentheses coaches. And, it's just how much can we pump into them? How much can we deplete them? And then there we go. And then they're going to step on stage. And like, they don't even think of the quality of the individual. It's just, they have to look great and we're going to do whatever it takes. And I haven't seen that in Jess. And it just goes to show she won her pro card. She looks great all year round. I know she's super pumped to be kind of going through a mini prep at the moment. Just kind of getting back into shape. So props to that. Not that it means much for me. I'm a nobody. But it's really nice to see that someone's really taking a different approach to coaching athletes, but also in a healthier way as well. Now, Jess, do you want to talk about how much of a horrible coach he is, or do you want to,
Well, I'm going to scooch forward because, I can't really reach.
It's a good thing we brought the chairs, right? Yeah, I wanted them to stand.
We were going to stand, but I can barely get my head over this. So,
Oh, man.
yeah, we would all be like right from the nose.
Jordan, she's calling you out right now.
Short jokes.
You'd have a hard time too, buddy.
I didn't say it. Will said it. I didn't say
Hey,
it.
this is my weekend. Calm down.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
He's like, and back to me. No, I mean, you guys, I was on, last time I was on the podcast, we did the Arnold predictions.
Yeah.
And before that was the Olympia predictions. But before that, when we had the block party, it was right after I won my pro card. And so I talked a little bit about how I had made the switch because the first time I was on the podcast, I was with a different coach. And so, I switched to work with Justin. Justin and I had been friends for a while, but I'd switched to work with him only 4 weeks before we earned my pro card. So, we did remarkable stuff in that 4 weeks.
18 pounds in 28 days.
Yeah, 18 pounds in 28 days. I will never forget that.
Without any drastic measures for anybody else that's watching, it was not drastic.
No. It was just attention to detail, really, really, really great coaching, daily check-ins, and just manipulating carbs, cardio, right, Justin?
Yeah, I think it was like you were 0 carbs when we started.
Yeah, 0
And then
carbs.
I put carbs in, and then it would be like a couple day depletion, and then I'd say, okay, let's do like 150 grams carbs today.
Yeah.
So they weren't like super heavy refeeds the way that I like to typically do. Like I
Yeah.
do usually like super saturation days. Like Amandine eats 750 grams carbs on her high days.
I can't.
But it's different because I've had the ability to work it like that. Again,
Yeah.
I like to create the biggest discrepancy between our baseline diet and our high day diet that I
Yeah.
possibly can.
Yeah.
We didn't have that time. And so what we did worked though, and so the carbohydrates helped us dump cortisol, and then obviously we were doing ice baths on a very regular
Oh my
basis to
God.
drop inflammation.
Yeah.
And it was just like every day we had 28 days. Every day was like, hey, we've got to make progress every day to get closer to this. And it was just by the end of it all, come to day of the competition to the day that we started, it ended up being 18 pounds down in 28 days.
18 pounds. Yeah, it was huge. So,
Yeah, I don't know if I was a believer at first, to be perfectly honest. And then stuff just started working, and
Yeah.
it was like, okay, we're gonna make it.
I was a believer.
I was nervous. I'll be the first to admit I was nervous because I was like, man, if I pull this off, like this is like a Houdini act.
Yeah.
And so
That's
but
why
we
I call
did-
you the
but
magician.
But we did it.
I
so.
literally in my phone, Justin is the magician, because like I knew it was gonna happen no matter what. I knew I was gonna make it happen. I just felt like I didn't have the right team behind me until I made that switch, and then I had the right team, and I was like, okay, like no matter what, I was gonna do it. I just needed to have the right guidance. So, but yeah, since then we went into off season, and then I ran into some gut issues, which like is pretty common. And not gonna lie, it sucked, but Justin stuck by me, and we enlisted the help of a functional health specialist, and we went and explored fixing my gut and some hormone replacement work, and now I'm back to healthy and peeling back some of the layers of fat that came on from that health phase, which is normal, but I wasn't happy with it. And then now we're, I think, cruising. I mean, my strength is pretty high, and I feel good, so I'm just happy to have my friend and coach in town right now.
Yeah,
So.
and like shout out Matt Cusano for helping out with getting the functional health stuff fixed. I'm not a functional health coach. I'm a prep coach. So we enlisted his help to fill the gaps on some of the areas that I don't have expertise. again, I'm very self-aware. I'm the first to admit if I don't know something. And this was, I tried my best, and I obviously know on a good chunk of the basic stuff for functional health, but when what I was asking her to do in our reverse diet just was not working, like nothing we were doing was working. The scale just kept going up. She was getting more and more unhappy and also feeling worse. It was just, we need to, enlist some more professional help here. And then he took over for a little bit, helped out, and then, which I was always in the picture, and now we are just kind of cruising, seeing like, pretty linear progress since we've started just like a mini diet for the summer or so, just to kind of get her physique back into like bodybuilding shape. We don't really need to add a ton of tissue, to be perfectly honest. So it's not a matter of like going into a full bore off season where we're bulking up. Like, it's like, we don't really have to do that right now.
Sure.
It's just keeping her healthy and then building her baseline diet up again at some point to then have a really good starting point for when eventually a pro debut prep would be.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you for being our, now that Sean has left our, Sean.
Yeah, you're the resident pro.
Resident pro. Yeah, that's big.
I ain't mad about it.
That's big. Hey,
Those are big shoes to fill.
we'll put your face on the wall.
That's what I told you. I said when I make it to that.
I actually don't think Sean's shoes are actually that big. But
Oh, Sean, don't listen to this.
shout out to Sean.
Sean, it's okay. He probably has the same size shoe that you do. I'm
I wear
defend
a
you there.
size 9, so I don't have like tiny feet.
His shoes are smaller than
Yeah, exactly.
He's
I
got
think he's
small
like
feet.
4 or 5 or something.
No, I think he's a men's, because I bought him or I almost bought him shoes before. I think he's a 7.5.
Okay.
He's not even here to defend himself.
I know, right?
Poor guy.
It's okay. His face is on the wall. But actually, Jordan, I'm glad you spoke up. One thing I do always like to ask any IFBB pro that walks through our doors, and especially comes onto our podcast, is, what is your why? What was the reason that you got into bodybuilding into the first place?
The reason I got into bodybuilding was just, I guess, I just fell in love with training. It was one of those things where, just to back up like a little bit of my backstory, I was in the military, and I was struggling with some things mentally at the time, and I was seeing a psychiatrist, therapist, and stuff, and they wanted to put me on medications and stuff for things, and I just didn't like how I felt on it. I really found like the training aspect, just going to the gym, just like releasing a lot of emotions and stress and things that I had going on when I was in the military. And I just fell in love with like feeling like that was the only place where I could go. It was like my escape. And so once I fell into that, I loved training. And then I started, okay, well, if I want to be better at training, I need to watch videos and like study like what people are doing. And so I started kind of studying, and it just developed into where I started finding bodybuilding videos, and I read Arnold's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, and I just was like, you know what, I want to do this. And so that's pretty much how I went. I was 118 pounds when I said, I'm going to be a bodybuilder, and nobody believed me. Nobody was behind me. They were just like, you're never going to go anywhere. You're a small guy. And I just stuck to it.
I love it. I mean, and as I had mentioned prior, that's the very similar story as to, what Sean, would tell me about all the time, is he was like 110 pounds or something like that, soaking wet out of high school. And, it took him all these years, but nobody believed in him. So, hey, man, he's the perfect proof, But I'm going to switch. Amandine, same question for you. What made you get into did you start in figure or bikini or anything like that, or did you go directly into physique? And what got you into bodybuilding?
I started 4 years ago, and I started as a figure.
Okay.
I practice some sports since I'm 2 years old, so it's really something I enjoy in life. And training is definitely my favorite part as well. And this is why I started bodybuilding.
I love it. I think that's where all of us, no matter. So I'm I'm actually a professional arm wrestler, but I used to compete at a very high level in powerlifting. I did some strongman and stuff like that. But I think we all kind of fall in love with the training is the first thing we fall in love with, whether it's, and I do connect with you very much so, Jordan, is, I had my own kind of, demons, we'll say, a couple mental things. And the one place that I felt at home and the one place that I could release and just the world would shut itself off was when I walked through the doors of a gym. There's something magical about the clanging of plates and, just lifting, pushing yourself to another level. So I love it. I love to hear that so much because it's kind of the one place where we, no matter whether you're a power lifter or a bodybuilder or whatever it may be, we kind of all, become, a family underneath this same training philosophy. So you're competing in a couple of days. You already competed. So we're gonna postpone you for a second. What have you eaten so far? Anything fun? Oh, Amandine, this is for you. No fun foods?
Oh, just after the Pittsburgh, one burger, and the morning, just a little American breakfast.
Oh, that's it? Nothing?
Yeah.
Oh, because I know there's another show coming
Yeah.
up, but
This is why.
Yeah,
I can never be a bodybuilder. It's so tough.
She had a couple mini donuts too.
Oh, a couple of donuts?
Snap. I'm drooling over here. Oh.
Jordan, anything planned? Anything planned post-show? Do you already have?
We know what Jordan wants.
No, I already asked Justin this question. I was like, hey, I'm not like worried about it right now, but after show, am I allowed to have a good meal? And he was like, you can have something small. And I was like, okay, sounds good. I just left it at that.
So Justin, what is something small?
Well, I originally was like, you can have like a burger and fry or like a steak and.
He was like, absolutely no dessert.
And I said no dessert, like no sweets. And so, because like if he has ice cream, his stomach's gonna be screwed up for a couple of days, and it's just not worth it. Because again, it's only 2 weeks. It's not like this like monumental amount of time.
Sure.
So it's only 2 weeks. We got to keep it together.
We will have something good in 2 weeks.
Yeah, in Toronto, you guys can both pig out. So, which I've heard great things. Toronto is a foodie place.
Oh, is it really?
I've heard.
Interesting.
Well, yeah, because it's a city, so I've heard that it's like definitely a good foodie place.
How do you know that?
I talked to some people in Canada.
I've got Canadian friends.
Yeah, I've got Canadian friends. I've got a handful of clients. And then he was like, I really want New York pizza. And I was like, you can have a slice.
Hey, that's better than nothing.
I know.
Yeah.
I was surprised he said like a slice.
Yeah.
I'll give you a slice, but like you're not going to order a whole pie and eat as much of it as you can.
Well, it's so interesting because, Sean and I got pretty close over the past 5 years, and I was able to see, pre-show, post-show. I was even, like, as you said, you're sleeping in his bed. I was not sleeping in Sean's bed, but with him when he won his open debut.
Correction. He said he's sleeping in the room, not in my
in the room.
We're not sleeping together.
Well, it's kind of implied, sleeping together.
We need to tell you no.
In the same bed. It's okay,
I'm like, absolutely not. We're not putting out that we sleep in the same bed.
I'm not that close with my athletes, guys.
Anyway, Goob, you don't want to listen to this, all right? Right? But it is really amazing. But I have seen, and for Jess and Simon is in the room as well. They saw, Sean post. Well, what was worse? Do you think post Olympia, and then were you guys at the no? But it was at the Olympia that we were all hanging out more, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, his I will say his head is a little bit bigger than his stomach is. Because his eyes, thank you. And we went to Insomnia Cookie and like bought out the entire place, right? And then they also were throwing the cookies away, so they were like, "Well, we'll take them."
Yeah.
He probably only ate half of them anyway. But this guy can eat post. And then the crazy thing is I think his metabolism was just ramping up so fast that the next morning he was like more shredded and more full, and it was just, really talks to the genetics of some people. But I think it's one of the coolest things that you probably get to see, which I felt so privileged, in seeing with him on the morning of that Legion show is, he'd wake up, he calls Matt, and he's like, all right, step on the scale, blah, 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 blah. What do you eat? All right, now I want you to eat your meal and send me a picture 2 hours later. Now, when he woke up, we're in a hotel. They have there's the big bay window. He's got natural light. Everything looks great. He looks already insane.
Yep.
But the change that I saw in 2 hours on someone's physique, well, it blew my mind completely because he was already, peeled to the bone. Mm-hmm. I think he ate maybe a half a cup of rice, maybe some fish, and like an asparagus.
Asparagus.
And when I tell you and then he ate and he just laid down. 2 hours later, he gets up. We take the same photo, and me and his videographer are just standing there with our jaws dropped because out of nowhere, he didn't even pump up nothing. He just starts posing, and it was like a wave of veins and vascularity just start coming out of his body. And I'm sure you've seen that with Kolly. I'm sure you're about to see that with Jordan too. But the awe of what the human body can achieve, I'm sure is something that excites you as a coach and both of you as athletes, right? How do you feel, right? When you look in the mirror and all of a sudden you see all the hard work paying off and that last final touch, when everything comes together, it's like perfection.
Yeah, and it's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
The science of it's just it's pretty amazing, but I think it's just one of those things that, it wouldn't be as fun without being able to see those results. I mean, being able to just see the magic happen really just makes that last week so intense, and you get to see her body come back to life after you've been so depleted and everything. It makes it all worth it. Like you're just like she said, kid in a candy store type of thing. You're just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Now, Justin, as their coach, what type of approach, because you had said it a little bit earlier, you're not having to use diuretics. For Jordan, he's really coming in tight. Do you take a more cautious approach to carving up your athletes?
Yeah. So I don't get overly aggressive, but it also, I try and figure out what I want to do based off of the strengths of the athlete. So like Kolly, for example, last weekend, she's very cartoonish, bubbly and round. We know this. Even when she's depleted, following a few low days on her diet back in Switzerland, she sent me pics. I'm like, you're still just wildly round. She doesn't go flat, just crazy bubbly. And so we knew that going into Pittsburgh, so we could either do one of two things. We could try and just pull her down as dry as we could, risk being a touch flat, or we could play to her strengths, which is the cartoon freakiness. And so that's what we did. So we filled aggressively the day before, and then it was prejudging started at 3, and I told her, I was like, you're probably going to be on stage around 4:30, and she was on stage at 4:35, to the 5 minutes. I was so proud of that. And so, but we peaked exactly how I wanted us to peak, as far as having just 3D Kolly is what we call her, 3D Kolly. And that's what we brought. We brought 3D Kolly with the perfect amount of blend of fullness and dryness based off of her condition levels, because obviously condition levels determine how dry an athlete will get and how they can get. So with where she was at conditioning wise, which was her best to date, we brought her in the driest that we could get her. She was also sick for the 3 days prior to the show, so she had her low-grade fever up until Friday. Friday was the first day that we broke the fever. So we got dry as we could while having the 3D Kolly look. We got 3 full meals in with then some backstage manipulations before the 3 o'clock prejudging started, and then we hammered the sodium, and then boom, just exactly what we wanted.
So you're telling me what we saw last weekend was a sick Kolly?
Yeah. like pretty damn sick, too.
I can't wait to see a healthy Kolly. All right.
On backstage,
tell them how you felt.
On backstage, I felt so bad. And before, at 2 days out, I had fever. I couldn't walk correctly. I was really sick, honestly.
Yeah. And we were there in Pittsburgh. We were committed to doing the show. And I asked her, I was like, do you want to wait? Do you want to try and use this week to get healthy and do New York next week? And she said, no, I'm here. I'm here to compete. I want to do this show. And then, but at the same time, she said, I don't know if I feel healthy enough to try and do 2 shows back-to-back weekends. So we talked to the promoters and everything, and we said, hey, I don't necessarily think it's a good idea for me to try and deplete her again right after this show for another one with which we had to fly here. So we had another 2-hour flight. And I don't know, flying puts stress on the body no matter what. So I was concerned with doing that, so that's why we're not doing New York Pro. This week, she's felt much better, but it still took a few days even after the show on Friday to be 100%. So she pretty much had the flu, which then I got the flu Friday on the day of the show. So, we both have not felt the healthiest this trip. But she's coming around and getting better, which is the most important, which is allowing us to then, which will allow us to bring a better package to her next show.
Fantastic. Now, I'm very curious. You said her refeeds sometimes are upwards of 750 grams of carbs.
Yep.
Have you seen that like a lot in your female athletes, or is that
she eats the most? It's not even close.
Really? Oh, so you can eat. You can eat a lot?
Yeah, but I'm still so hungry.
I've never seen anything like it.
I mean, that's good. I mean, I'm sure you're just going to keep growing.
But
And
he's the same way though. Like, I mean, out of like
My refeeds are pretty huge.
he's at 850 grams of carbs.
Oh.
And so, but still, like, so stature wise, like obviously, like Jordan's 5'3" and not the heaviest.
hey, he
athlete.
said 5'4". You better.
5'3" and
The
a
driver's
half.
license.
Give him the half.
The driver's license picture that I saw says 5'3". So anyway, regardless, but so he's not my biggest athlete by any means, but he eats probably as much as any of my big guys.
Wow,
Like I've
no,
got
that's
I've got
good.
supers 275, 280, and they eat a lot of food, of course, because they're big humans. He eats just about as much as they do.
Yeah, my off season, I was probably eating close to 6,500 to 7,000 calories a day, all clean.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Gerber baby food.
Chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice.
And yeah, he's not a red meat guy. He doesn't really care for red meat.
I'm definitely a red meat guy.
Me too. So is
Yeah.
Kolly. So,
No, that's really interesting because having met and interviewed so many bodybuilders, Sean isn't a big eater. People
No,
don't
he's not.
realize he's not a big eater, and he has his own couple of digestive things. Like he can't do red meat because of some intestinal stuff he had as a kid. So he's not a huge eater, but he responds so well to the food, and I think that's a massive part as being a coach. But before we finish up, I just have one more question for each of you guys, and Jess, we'll save it to the end because I think we've talked about this actually once. But what do you guys see being a positive, and what do you guys see as being a negative trend happening in your guys' sport right now? Well, they look right to you, Jordan. Yeah, there you go.
Positive, I think that there is, I guess you'd say there's growth in the sport. They're trying to move things around. They're trying to, they brought the Olympia back to Orlando, so I think that's awesome. I think that it wasn't going to be successful taking it back to Vegas and stuff. So I think that there's some growth, and I think that there's some, whenever the Olympia changed hands, I think that there's a lot of new game plans that are going on that I think are kind of bringing it back to life. It's kind of, I feel like, come back to life and a little more popular. Negative, I think, like you said, there's just so many quote unquote coaches. And I think the problem is that there's a lot of health issues, like people are not pushing blood work. People are not pushing doing this in a safe way for longevity. They're out there just trying to, like you said, pump stuff into somebody and throw things at them that, don't make any sense. And that's one of the biggest things I've been grateful with Justin is just that he makes sure that I'm completely healthy, and he makes sure that I'm like feeling right, and like that, that I'm not overdoing something. And I've had a coach in the past that, I'm not going to say names or anything, but would run me down in prep. And like this prep has just been so smooth and so nice to be able to have energy. But like, before, I would just be over dieted, and like everything would be thrown at me, and I would just feel like death going into peak week and feel like I don't even want to get on stage. And so like you just see a lot of that nowadays where it's like athletes are being told to just do it, and then they're just like, oh, okay, whatever. And there's just a lot of lack of paying attention to their health.
Yeah, I've seen that so many times too. It's like same thing when Jess was getting ready. It's like she actually had energy. Like, even as much as being in that, you're going to be a little tired, you're depleted and all that type of stuff. But, I've seen the exact opposite. I've seen some, because here at Signature, we have a lot of people who compete, right? It's just the nature of our gym. Yep. And I've seen some of those people where you're like, wow, I don't know who's coaching you, but you look like shit. No, and I don't mean that. I don't mean that in like they look like shit in terms of their physique. I mean, you look unhealthily ill.
Yeah.
And that's a massive part. And you're right. Like, it's really sad because there's a lot of coaches out there, Kolly, so something you find that you like in the sport and something that you dislike that's happening right now.
Okay, right now,
Right now.
Yeah.
something I'm really happy about is to step on the Pittsburgh stage because I'm someone very introvert and shy, and I think it was a very great challenge for me. And the negative thing, I think it's just like the financial part for me personally. But yeah, that's it.
Okay. And Justin?
A good thing in the sport, man, I don't really know what I want to say here. So I like.
He hates the sport.
No, I love it. I love it, but I have a lot more complaints than I have. So what I'm grateful for is the opportunities for people to compete. There's more shows nowadays than there's ever been before, which is great. So there's a lot of opportunities for people all around the country, all around the world. To be able to get into bodybuilding. It's expanding. It's the biggest it's ever been. So I'm grateful for that. One thing that I'm not super keen on is the lack thereof understanding of how long this stuff takes. And one thing I will say is for any newcomers, people who are just kind of getting into bodybuilding. So I like to use myself as an example. I started bodybuilding at 21. I started lifting weights at 15. I was a pretty high level lifter all the way up to even before I started bodybuilding because I played collegiate sports. So I played a very high level football in high school, winning several state championships, and then went to play college football. So I knew I had sports specific trainers all the way. So like we knew what it took. Like we knew hard work, we knew proper mechanics, how to lift properly. And so even at the age of 21 and I started bodybuilding, there was still so much more that I needed to learn and so much more that I needed to understand and how much my physique still needed to grow before I could be even remotely considering myself a championship bodybuilder. So I started bodybuilding at 21 and I won my pro card at 27 and it took me 9 shows to do that. I competed 9 times in those 8 years or so to get there. So I think that is something that people need to understand is that if you're getting ready for a show or you're getting ready for maybe your first national level show, great. Go all in on it, give it your absolute best. But if you don't win, that doesn't mean you suck and that this sport's not for you and that, you know, I'm never going to be Nick Walker. It's like, no, you're probably not going to be Nick Walker. But that doesn't mean that you're not meant for bodybuilding. That There's so many levels to this, and this sport is truly inclusive of everybody who wants to give their all to it, whether it's the regional level competitor who never gets beyond the regionals, never wins a class, never wins an overall, nothing. It's still for them. The person who wins overalls and goes to national shows, it's for them. The person who wins a national level show and gets their pro card, it's for them. And then the person who eventually can compete on the pro ranks and be competitive on the pro ranks, it's for them. And then the person who can get to the Olympia, it's for them. There's so many, you see how many levels there is to this now that I've already listed. There's unfortunately a delusion with a lot of newcomers that they can do it very quickly, and you can't. This sport is an ultra marathon. Bodybuilding is an ultra marathon. That process of putting on a very large amount of muscle to be at the highest levels of the sport is like an ultra marathon. Prep is like a sprint. Very fast. 16 weeks is a blink of an eye. And so, but the process to build quality tissue is an ultra marathon. We need to treat it like that. So we need to be able to kind of manage our expectations more.
I love it. Jess?
Oh man, how do I follow that?
Yeah, right? Yeah, that was a good one.
I think these guys touched on a lot of the things that I would agree with, you know, positive trends and not so positive trends. But one that sticks out to me is probably the fact that this is bodybuilding and lifting heavy and being in the gym has become really cool and trendy, and especially for women. Like, there's more and more women that are just like, it's cool to be strong, it's cool to lift heavy, and it's cool to not be like, you know, skinny little bitches. Like, it's cool to have muscle. And like, I've always been someone that's had muscle, and so not only do I kind of feel like I fit in now, but it's cool because like we can see younger women getting more into fitness, and like, you know, my brother's about to be 21, his girlfriend and some of his female friends are like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I want to learn about it. So, I love coaching women like that. So I think that's a really positive trend. And something that I don't love is just, Jordan touched on this, a lot of the health issues that might come from the sport. And some of it, we accept the risks from competing in this sport, and it is what it is. But unfortunately, not everyone, not every coach, not every competitor is focused on and prioritizing health as much as Justin does for his athletes, as much as we do as his athletes, because he leads by example. So it's not a great trend, and I hope that people kind of pay a little more attention to their health and not risking it just for the sport. So
Very, very well said. Well, Jordan, Kolly, Justin, Jess, thank you guys so much for coming on an episode of the Signature Cast where we talk bodybuilding, business, and everything in between. I will tag all of their socials here, and little movie magic there. But give them guys a follow and wish this man good luck on his pro debut. And then in a few more weeks, both of them going to do some major damage in the IFBB Pro League. So guys, thank you so much for coming on today, and we'll see you soon.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.